Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor transmits herewith a bill entitled Business Practices and Consumer Protection Amendment Act 2025 and recommend the same to the Legislative Assembly. Minister.
I move that the bill be introduced and read a first time now. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce the Business Practices and Consumer Protection Act.
Her Honor, the
this bill makes amendments to the Business Practice and Consumer Protection Act to modernize consumer contract provisions. The amendments will establish transparency and target certain contracts, restricting access to justice and providing time now. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce the Business Practices and Consumer Protection Act. This bill makes amendments
Herewith reading of the bill, all those in favor say aye.
Modernize consumer contract provisions.
Amendment
The
Act
amendments will establish
2025.
transparency.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minister.
Speaker, I move that the bill be placed on the orders of the day for second reading at the next sitting of the House after today.
You have heard the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Madam Clerk.
Statements by members.
Member for Maple Ridge East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to briefly talk about the coming new bus rapid transit system that TransLink is bringing to the Maple Ridge area. When completed in 2029, it will be the first BRT project in British Columbia. The bus rapid transit system is a quick and affordable public transit option to Maple Ridge from Langley City. This initiative by TransLink is to provide an additional transit option rather than replacing existing routes. The BRT will alleviate congestion on localized bus routes, while at the same time shorten the travel time by 40 minutes going from Langley to Maple Ridge. That is half the current commute time on public transit. The proposed BRT project will have a total of 13 bus stations, 5 in Maple Ridge and 8 in Langley. The cost of this project is also very, very much cheaper than other public transit options, like the SkyTrain. The project is currently in its second phase, focusing mainly on community outreach and attaining more fundings. Through open houses and an online survey, they have received over 1,200 responses with a 90% approval rating. I think that's awesome. TransLink sees 40% of the funding coming from the federal government, 40% from the provincial government, and 20% from the municipalities. I'm very excited, Mr. Speaker, about this new BRT initiative that TransLink is bringing to the people of Maple Ridge and Langley. Thank you.
Member for Esquimalt-Colwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to acknowledge the Songhees and Esquimalt peoples whose traditional territory I stand on today and thank them for allowing me to not only live but raise my children on their lands. Today, I want to recognize an outstanding organization in my community, the Esquimalt Family Resource Center, or as we call them, the MFRC. This exceptional nonprofit and charitable organization provides critical support to military families in my riding of Esquimalt-Colwood. The MFRC assists military families before, during, and after deployments, especially helping with after deployments with reintegration, which may sound silly to anyone who's never been in the military, but trust me, those can be some challenging months when someone comes back, even though we loved and missed them dearly. In addition, they offer services related to housing, employment, education, and healthcare for families relocating to our communities, just like every other British Columbia.
They spend about 15 minutes at the beginning every day just like welcoming people and congratulating people and singing happy birthdays. 15 minutes a day times how many days per month in session is wasted on saying hellos when you can do that before the business meeting?
For those who don't know, military families have their own weird set of rules. The vital work is made possible through a dedicated board of directors of individuals with military connection, and is then run by Executive Director Jackie Carley. Jackie is a strong advocate for military families, and I only point her out because during my time in local government, I frequently saw her talking about the passionate need for more housing and childcare in my community for military families. The MFRC does collaborate closely with the Commander of Maritime Forces Pacific, the Base Commander, and the Director of Military Family Service as partners. They ensure that the CAF members deployed overseas can focus on their mission without worrying about the well-being of our families at home. And as a military spouse, I can't tell you how good it is to know that I have a family at home when our partners are sailing. I just want to thank the Esquimalt MRC for their unwavering commitment to those who are serving our country, to ensuring that we're all taken care so our military can do their jobs. Thank you. Mr. Speaker.
Member for Abbotsford West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to speak about the City of Abbotsford this morning, a community that stands as the economic and agricultural heart of the Fraser Valley, a shining example of generosity, diversity, and innovation in Canada. Known as the city in the country, Abbotsford is a powerhouse in Canada's agricultural sector, with farm gate sales more than double at any of those farms in any community in BC, and the highest farm sales per hectare in the country. Its agricultural strength is unmatched. In 2022 alone, Abbotsford's farms generated $3.83 billion in economic activity, feeding families across the province and beyond. From dairy and poultry to berries to greenhouse vegetables, this city is the backbone of Canadian food production. But Abbotsford's impact extends far beyond its fields. For 18 consecutive years, it has ranked as Canada's most generous metropolitan area, whether supporting local charities, youth programs, or international relief efforts. The people of Abbotsford define the spirit of giving. Diversity is another defining strength. Home to one of Canada's largest South Asian communities and over 80 spoken languages, Abbotsford is a vibrant, multicultural hub where faith, traditions, ideas, and innovation thrive. With nearly 28% of residents born outside of Canada, the city continues to attract talent, investment, and cultural richness from around the world. Beyond agriculture, Abbotsford is a growing centre for business, manufacturing, and aerospace. From aviation to film production, its industries create thousands of jobs and drive economic growth across British Columbia. And of course, the raspberry capital of Canada, which adds a sweet touch to its agricultural lore. From the fields to the factories, from generosity to diversity, Abbotsford impact is felt from the region to the province to the country. It is my privilege to represent Abbotsford and Victoria as they so proudly represent Abbotsford to the nation. Mr. Speaker, Abbotsford, the city and the country.
Member for Burnaby South Metrotown.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As we all know, the Invictus Game was held recently here in Vancouver. It's a celebration of resilience, camaraderie, and indomitable spirit of our veterans. During this extraordinary event, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Vice Minister of Korean Veterans Affairs. His visit to BC was part of ongoing discussion with Prince Harry about the possibility of hosting the next Invictus Game in Daejeon Province in Korea. Now, for me, this dialogue was particularly meaningful because Daejeon is my hometown, place where I was born. So the prospect of seeing the Invictus Game held here filled me with immense pride. It also speaks to deep bonds between BC and Korea, bond forged during the Korean War when our nation stood shoulder to shoulder and reinforced by decades of trade and diplomatic cooperation ever since. The Invictus Game provides us not only an opportunity to honor the sacrifices of our veterans, but also a chance to build new connections with other nations. And this spirit of cooperation is vital, especially now, as we know, and as we seek to further diversify trade relationships and navigate the economic challenge ahead of our time. So hosting the next Invictus Game in Daejeon would be a powerful tribute to Korean-Canadian friendship and a testament to the resilience of veterans everywhere. And it would also build on the momentum of our shared history, reinforcing the unity between Canada and Korea in both remembrance and forward-looking development to keep us North strong. Thank you very much, Your
Member for Richmond Bridgeport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a great honor for me to rise in the House today to take note of one of the most important festivals celebrated by the Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and other communities. This year's Lunar New Year began on January 29 and is celebrated for the whole month of January in lunar calendar. 2025 is the year of the snake, which symbolizes renewal and wisdom.
Interesting. You know, the Asian community or their culture is really, it's a shame-based around addictions and the addiction platform. And it's really sad how they are in relation to a family member of theirs going down that rabbit hole and how they just cut them out. Most of the time, not saying all families, but the majority of the ones that I've worked with.
This is a time of renewal, a time to give thanks, to prepare for the challenges ahead, and to celebrate the successes of the year behind us, to join with friends and family, and wish prosperity and good fortune to those around us. My colleagues and I were thrilled to join local communities in welcoming the new year, including the Countdown Night and Golden Dragon and Lion Dance celebration in Aberdeen Centre in my beautiful riding of Richmond Bridgeport, as well as the Vancouver Chinatown Parade, which attracted thousands of spectators, even though it was snowing that day. It was great seeing multi-ethnic groups get together to observe and join the celebration. Canada is a country of immigrants. In particular, almost 1.3 million, or 28.3% of British Columbians are immigrants, the majority of which were born in Asia. I would like to take this opportunity to call for strengthening understanding and harmony between different ethnic groups and communities. Let's not let race define us. Let's learn to appreciate and embrace diversity. We can start by being interested in how other cultures celebrate their festival, such as the Lunar New Year, then take part and learn about it. To everyone celebrating the Lunar New Year, I wish you happiness and prosperity in the year ahead. Thank you. 恭喜發財，恭喜發財. Thank you.
Member for Ladysmith Oceanside.
Good morning, Honourable Speaker and colleagues. Today I rise to express my gratitude to the Island Crisis Care Society for hosting me at the incredibly successful Coldest Night of the Year walk in Oceanside last weekend. Island Crisis Care Society is a registered non-profit society that operates in the Oceanside and Nanaimo area. They offer 8 housing sites and 13 programs and provide housing and supports to over 250 people daily. Island Crisis Care aims to offer more than just shelter. They provide their clients with a wide range of supports for their growth and development, not just to survive, but to thrive. This year, the funds raised through the Coldest Night of the Year will support Island Crisis Care's community-based programs that provide...
She went for a walk. These people that go for walks, you know, they go for walks in the middle of the night because it's really important to know what it's like to be homeless. They have no idea what it's like to be homeless.
Essential skill building for their clients. It is these programs that bridge the gap between surviving and thriving. These skills and life skills programs cover topics such as healthy eating, literacy, job readiness training, communication, and cultural learning, and continue to have a major impact on the residents' journey to independence. In 2018, Island Crisis Care, BC Housing, and the City of Parksville faced relentless pushback in their efforts to create supportive housing in the area of Oceanside. Rather than fold at this pushback, Island Crisis Care worked with the opponents of the project and addressed concerns one by one with the same methodical care that they use to run their programming. Today, Orca Place is seamlessly operating at 222 Corefield Place in Parksville. It looks and feels like any other apartment building on the block and runs integrated programming with the neighboring residents, often the same people who fiercely objected the project. I was honored to attend the Coldest Night of the Year and support this incredible service provider and the programs they offer their clients.
Madam Clerk.
Oral questions by members.
Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. An expose in the New West Times draws some shocking conclusions about money flowing from the BC government to radical drug organizations. These organizations use the money to promote the NDP's safe supply agenda while people are dying in record numbers from addictions. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about taxpayer money being spent on partisan NDP policies. This is shocking, and quite frankly, it's destroying the trust in the government and in government programs. To the Premier, will you implement a full independent inquiry into your safe supply scandal and all of its tentacles, or will you continue to dole out taxpayers' money to out-of-touch pro-drug regimes?
Mr. Premier.
Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member for the question. You know, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of British Columbians who have lost loved ones as a result of the toxic drug crisis.
So last year, for 3 weeks, there was a tent right in front of his doorway for his office on Broadway in Kitsilano. He couldn't get to work for 3 weeks because he was too nice to the people that put the tent there. I spoke to the cronies that he hired to have them removed. I was like, oh, pay me $100. I'll have them moved in a half a second. Oh no, we have to be nice.
$60,000 as well to fund their goal of decriminalizing all drugs, including fentanyl. These are just two organizations funded to promote the NDP's drug agenda in 2024. To the Premier, given his abject failure of harm reduction, will you start an inquiry, demand our money back, and actually start investing in recovery, things like abstinence-based recovery?
All questions through the chair, member.
Thank you.
Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It was the hope of many people, myself included, and we had the support of the chiefs of police, that if we removed the criminal sanction from people, we stopped arresting them and putting them in jail or struggling with addiction. They might take that opportunity to speak to friends and loved ones, to ask for help, be more likely to enter into treatment. And unfortunately, that's not what happened, or at least for a significant group of people, that's not what happened. What we saw was increased public use. What we saw was people feeling unsafe in their communities. What we saw was people who were in recovery feeling triggered seeing public drug use. So we had to step back from the decriminalization initiative and recriminalize public drug use. And we're going to make sure that we're going to try everything we can to support people getting into treatment, saving their lives.
Members, please continue.
And if it's not consistent with our values, if it's not resulting in the outcomes that British Columbians are looking for, then we're going to move in a different direction. It's an incredibly challenging issue, and we're going to do the work that's necessary.
It's quite easy.
Member for Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Free shipping. 10% off your first order is supposed to be the promotion for buying chocolate from a local store, not for buying ultra-premium cocaine. Online stores like Delix are following the Premier's example of normalizing drugs and pushing safe supply. They'll ship cocaine, MDMA, ketamine, and psilocybin direct to your door. They're going to ship it via Canada Express Post, disguised as a box of chocolates. All you need is a credit card, no questions asked, no proof of age. Years of NDP drug legalization activism running roughshod through this province has emboldened criminals and has increased the demand for illicit drugs. When will the Premier show some real concern for the health and safety of British Columbians and intervene?
Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. I appreciate the member's passion on this issue, but if the member opposite wants to talk about drug and safe supply, I think we should talk about results. We're talking about taking the fight directly to organized crime. We have expanded police resources, enhanced drug seizures, and invested in
Members.
intelligence-led enforcement.
I couldn't do that.
Just this
Let's
past
hear the answer,
October,
please.
Just this past October, RCMP federal drug policing dismantled the largest fentanyl and methamphetamine superlab in Canadian history,
Oh shit, Sherlock.
preventing over 95 million lethal doses of this drug flooding our streets.
Okay, so that
This
means
is the
that's how
kind
bad it's
of
gone.
action that saves lives.
That means that's how bad it's gone. So for every one stopping of a criminal offense, means that person's done it like 10 times or 100 times.
Mr. Speaker, we will
Members.
continue to work with police to ensure that organized criminals
Let
are
the minister
disrupted
finish his answer,
wherever
please.
they may
Talk
be.
over the minister, Mr.
Mr. Speaker, this government will not play political games with people's lives.
Members come to order. Members,
Mr. Speaker, we
Order.
will continue to support enforcement crackdowns on drug traffickers and bad actors wherever they may be in British Columbia. Thank you.
Surrey Cloverdale supplemental.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's do talk results. More than 16,000 British Columbians dead, primarily from fentanyl overdose, and a recent criminal intelligence report saying BC and Ontario are the worst for cartel fentanyl production in the entire country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our Premier has been a champion of legalization of drugs for years. And when he started his dangerous safe supply experiment, said that the aim was to get government between people addicted to drugs and their dealer. The part that he left out was the government would be the drug dealer. This government has normalized drug use. It uses tax dollars to fund
The government isn't the drug dealer. They're the drug pusher because they don't actually sell drugs. They just give them out for free.
police activists who are fighting to legalize drugs. They continue to run online websites that will deliver crack pipes and snorting kits right to your door instead of removing financial barriers to all treatment. Will the Premier stand up today?
So if you're watching, take a load at this. If you're watching, take a load at this. This is what they give out downtown. So this is a safer, you know what it says. It's how to smoke that stuff safer. And it'll tell you in the pamphlets that they give out downtown, like they give out these pamphlets. And I'll just read one to you. Brass screens are much safer than steel wool. Small pieces of hot steel wool, such as Brillo, can break off and burn your lips, mouth, and throat. Drink water or juice and keep your mouth moist to reduce cracks and blisters. Use your own stem and mouthpiece to prevent hepatitis. Bro, when you're an addict, you're not thinking shit, bro. You just be thinking about getting your next, like, la la la. Anyways, I had to show that. God bless you guys.
And commit to defunding his beloved anti-police organizations that are fighting to legalize drugs and instead fund treatment, addiction, and mental health.
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The toxic drug crisis and the violence in our streets are the result of money laundering and organized crime. We're taking action every day to dismantle these criminal organizations, sending the message to the very top of the organizations that these crimes do not pay. We've passed, as you know, unexplained wealth orders, legislation that goes beyond merely arresting people. It takes the thrill out of the fast cars, luxury goods of high-level organized criminals.
So what is it, Moose on the Loose? David found this thing yesterday where, no, it was Falcom or whatever his name is, Frank something. He found this thing where the government put $50K in to do a research study within the jails to find out if jail actually makes someone less less reoffend. So they did a study in the jails and asked the questions to the inmates saying, when you get out, are you likely to reoffend because of jail or not? And they found out that the study was, pretty much like, yeah, it's, I don't even want to go there. It's just stupid as fuck.
We're sending every day a clear message that our government will continue to take decisive action against suspected proceeds of unlawful activity.
Members.
The member opposite will know.
Members, let's hear the answer. Members, let's hear the answer, please.
The member
Mr.
opposite will know that we've seized the property of Hell's Angels in British Columbia in 3 specific locations in this province.
8 years ago.
Our commitment to this House is we will continue to seize illegal.
If this meathead would know, it's not the HA, they're 81 that's doing it anymore. The Mexican cartels are on top of everything. Yep.
Obtained assets, brick by brick. We will demolish organized crime and punish those who profit from it.
Hands behind your back.
Member for Saanich North and Islands.
Street sweeps continue across the province. This ongoing displacement of unhoused members of our communities is often dehumanizing, violent. In far too many parts of British Columbia, we've seen people displaced, dispossessed of their belongings, and left with nowhere safe to go. BC spent millions on the police enforcement of shelter bans, yet continues to make woefully inadequate investments in dignified and safe housing. And this is one of the wealthiest jurisdictions in the world. Honourable Speaker, through you to the Premier, when will your government make the investments needed to end homelessness once and for all through dignified, safe housing?
You can't end homelessness. Homelessness, Skid Row, is a state of mind. It is. And if we've done the job where we've bought all these hotels throughout the province. We've taken the drugs and given them out to the addicts, and then we put them in the hotels, and now we're supposed to tell them to stop doing drugs after we've given out all of that. There's a hotel downtown that I'm pretty aware of that has dealers on every floor.
Meet people's needs.
Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the member for the question. We on this side of the House agree fully that everyone deserves to have a roof over their head. Everyone deserves to have a safe place that they call home. Honourable Speaker, what worries me, and I think what worries the member across the way, is too often people see the problem as homeless people themselves, when the problem actually is the lack of housing available in our communities. Honourable Speaker, we have made the largest investment in affordable housing in BC's history. Just to put it in context.
My family works for BC Housing probably, and they're making a shit ton of money. My friends have a whole bunch of societies that they're giving me kickbacks to in a bank account that's in Sweden or Nigeria, or triads. God bless this guy.
Just to put it in context, 32 times more housing, affordable housing that is ongoing right now than when the previous government was in. 32 times more, Honourable Speaker. We are making up for lost time. And we're seeing some results. In Kelowna, 120 new units of supportive housing that we've launched. And the mayor...
Give me the address. I want to go take my cameras and check it out.
...informed me, and the members from Kelowna will know, that they're seeing success. In the first 6 months, 40 people have already moved to temporary housing and found their way back to connecting with family, employment, to stable housing, Honourable Speaker. I can go on with all the communities where we're seeing this progress, but I appreciate the members' passion for this important issue.
Thank you.
We're going to fight every single day to make sure everyone has a roof over their heads.
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. And thank you very much to the member and the critic for mental health and addictions for raising a really important question.
around supports for people who live in communities that are farther from urban centres and often farther from the supports that they need. And it's so important that we pay particular attention to remote, rural communities, Indigenous communities, because connecting people to the supports that they need is a core priority for this government, for the entire healthcare system, but particularly, Mr. Speaker, in this, the toxic drug crisis that has touched so many people. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is absolutely correct that we need to connect people to the services that they need, and that is the priority of this government. Mr. Speaker, over the previous years, we have funded over 700 publicly funded new treatment beds. We are supporting communities through the establishment of withdrawal management and connecting people to care, sobering and assessment, transition homes, supporting people with the supports that they need to tackle this crisis. Mr. Speaker, we're not going to stop that work. I appreciate so much the intervention from the member and look forward to working with her to help resolve issues in her community and communities broadly in the North.
Member for Skeena supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you, respectfully, that doesn't answer my question. Terrace has been asking for this detox and treatment center for over a decade. Terrace has a population of about 12,000 people, plus all of the outlying areas.
So a year and a half ago, Terrace had a problem with natives, Aboriginal people drinking too much, drinking one particular type of alcohol. It's a red sherry. And due to the fact that these people were drinking it in the cold weather because it kept them warm, and then they found some of them passed away, what they did is they stopped selling it in Terrace in the liquor stores. This is the decision they made. They stopped selling it in Terrace, and they moved it all over to Prince Rupert. So what happened is a whole part of Terrace left Terrace and went to Prince Rupert because they got their booze they wanted.
Have access. Indigenous leaders in the Northern First Nations Alliance have been clear. They need culturally sensitive treatments that include wraparound supports.
Yeah.
The closest accessible treatment center for people in my riding is a 6 to 8 hour drive away.
Prince George. And
that is unacceptable.
The
success rate of detox alone is only...
There's not even a women's center there, and the success rate of detox is like 5%, 10% maybe.
10%. And that seems to be the only investment we can get in my riding. This government's harm reduction model is meaningless if people don't have access to the treatment and recovery that they need to escape addiction. This government has made safe supply widely available while failing to provide a clear path to recovery. Mr. Speaker, if this government is serious about reconciliation and saving lives, why hasn't it delivered Indigenous-led treatment and recovery services in my community?
I had a talk with the president of the BC Conservative Party's executive yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to, she called me yesterday, I'm really looking forward to going to the AGM this weekend to actually have a sit down with some of these folks. It's going to be an awesome weekend.
A fully funded detox and treatment center is operational.
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you again to the member for this line of questioning. Our government is committing to do everything that we can to continue to expand the full continuum of supports and services for people, from intervention and prevention through to withdrawal management, detox, establishing treatment beds and recovery programs for people. Mr. Speaker, I know there's a lot more work to do, and we are going to continue to do this work, supporting Indigenous communities with Indigenous-led treatment centres as are now being established in places around British Columbia, but there is more work to do to reach communities. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue this work, offering centralized phone lines for opioid treatment, for example.
So shut up, you're going to have a phone line. You're going to spend how much money on a phone line so people like me can phone people and say, I want to get off the drugs. Because I was on opiates for a fucking long time. 2007. Okay? 2007, prescription meds. 2019, tripled the dose because of a car accident. I was in the hospital for months, in and out. Tripled my dose, then I was gone again. I'd been sober since 96, and after that was a total shit show of a horrible situation. And I'm off of everything now, have been for months, but I have an echo. Thank you. Now I don't have an echo, I think.
Continuing with the investments
Do I still
in
have an
mental
echo?
health for youth to help prevent these problems from beginning in the very first place. Mr. Speaker, again, there's an incredible amount of work to do, and I look forward to working with the member to get this work done. Thank you.
Bullshit. Or I hope so.
Member for Kelowna Centre.
Honourable Speaker, BC Housing funds Stevens Village, which is a wet supportive housing facility in Kelowna, making them responsible for the residents. But instead of keeping the peace, everyone is frustrated.
Okay, so just so everyone knows what wet supportive housing is, that's supportive housing where you have an alcohol problem, not a drug problem, and you can go in and live there and drink. The one in Vancouver that's run by the Portland Housing Society actually has their own brewery that you can make your alcohol on the main floor. It's on the corner of Princess, and it's 2 blocks north of Hastings on Princess.
Aaron Wells of Flamin Fitness, a neighbouring business, had his
I'll put the link in the thing.
store and vehicles broken into. Other constituents have come to me with concerns about assaults, drug deals, and lewd behaviour, frightening them and their children. When will this government provide the support to fix the neighbourhood while helping those in need get off the street?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank the member for the question. The member would have heard my answer previously about the success we're seeing in Kelowna with unhoused populations.
Okay, so this is funny. So I posted all this bullshit up there a couple months ago, and they've moved it. So they've taken the address down, they've taken the building's address down. But you can look on some of my old videos. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's always concerning when you hear of a situation where there's people in the community that feel that better protections need to be put in place. We work closely with our not-for-profit providers to ensure that they are putting additional supports and safety measures in, whether it's fencing, whether it's cameras, etc. The member raises a specific site. I will have BC Housing look into that and get back to the member.
Oh yeah, I'm going to look into BC Housing getting paid another $400,000 to put cameras everywhere so that homeless people can just throw rocks at them and break them. What a fucking meathead. Excuse my language.
Kelowna Centre, supplemental.
Yes. Stevens Village is a wet facility, meaning it's low barrier and it allows residents to engage in illegal substances that this government has been peddling on BC streets.
No, that's not
Even the staff know they're being abandoned, left to burn out without being able to help those in need or to evict those causing the problems.
I don't know if she's true on that. I don't think any housing place would actually let someone smoke fent or meth or any of that crazy stuff in their places. I don't think so.
Stevens Village is failing its residents and the community.
And can you let me know if my echo went away?
Will this government listen to them and provide them with the supports they need and make Stevens Village a dry facility?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Just for the member's knowledge that whenever a community comes forward with needs and requests for housing, the first thing we do is engage with them, the people with lived experience, the not-for-profits, to identify what the needs are in communities. We do have some locations that are dry locations. We have some locations that are lower barrier because that's what's needed in the If the member's got a question, she should get up and ask a question. But the consistent heckling from this member, Honourable Speaker.
Members.
It's a serious question.
Let the minister complete his answer, please.
It's a serious question. It's about vulnerable people, Honourable Speaker. We meet with community leaders. We meet with not-for-profits all the time to discuss what type of housing is needed. And the reality is both is needed. We need to make sure that there's low barrier housing to get people indoors, to get them the stability that they need, to get them the additional supports, whether it's healthcare, mental health, or connecting with family. Honourable Speaker, we need both. Again, this site I can't speak to specifically, but I will follow up with the member after question period.
Check all the sites, you meathead. Sorry, just like I'd have a really hard time being in this room. I would be one of those people making comments just once in a while, just when I needed to.
Member for Langley Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, this NDP government promised British Columbians open drug use near hospitals and long-term care homes would end. Yet, right beside Langley Memorial Senior Long-Term Care Facility, there is a tent where people openly use fentanyl, crack, and other hard drugs. This is not just reckless, this is dangerous for seniors.
This is funny, so you can't, if I cop with this on the YouTube, because there's using these words, I get demonetized, but I don't give a shit, bro. I want to get the message out. Uh-oh.
To continue to work with people, with healthcare providers, with community support organizations, to connect people to the supports that they need, and to continue to build out a seamless system of care for people who are struggling with substance use disorders. Mr. Speaker, we are not going to stop on this work.
Okay, so here you go. Okay, Mrs. Osborne, it's not a substance, it's not a disorder, it's a disease. So start with that. Addiction is a disease. It's not a disorder. It can't be treated with medicine, counseling. It's got to be done as a spiritual. It's a spiritual thing.
Member for Kootenay Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Cancer, a word that sends a chill down the spine of every British Columbian.
No.
A word that has touched every community, shattered countless families, and taken far too many lives.
Yeah.
You would be hard-pressed to walk through even these halls to find a single person that hasn't lost a loved one, a parent, a sibling, a friend to this relentless disease. Radiation therapy is not an optional, it is an essential. It is vital, it is a life-saving component of cancer treatment. And yet, despite approving a new oncology treatment building at East Kootenay Regional Hospital, this government has shockingly excluded radiation therapy. How can this government justify excluding this crucial life-saving treatment from this new build? This decision is not just disappointing, it is unacceptable. Cancer patients in the Kootenays deserve better. This facility has the power to save lives, yet this government is choosing to deny them the care that they need.
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member for his question and for his clear and obvious compassion for people who are suffering from cancer. It is a diagnosis that none of us would ever wish to face, and yet I am certain that everyone in this House has had a family member, a loved one, a friend, or even themselves who has had to face this terrible diagnosis. Mr. Speaker, everybody deserves and needs that access to care, and we are committed to building out a cancer care system across this province that is one of excellence. And Mr. Speaker, that includes investments, including hiring more than 140 new cancer doctors, for example, 93 new oncologists, opening cancer care clinics in places like Kelowna. Now, Mr. Speaker, I recognize that that's a distance, that is a distance, but Mr. Speaker, I've had the opportunity to speak with the Regional Hospital District Director about this subject many times, and explaining and talking with local community members about the importance of supporting people to get the best cancer care they can closest to home, and that in time, when the space and the numbers of people who are facing this warrant it, that these kinds of services can be added. This door is not closed, Mr. Speaker, and will continue to support people facing this terrible disease.
Member of Kootenay Rockies, supplemental.
So, Mr. Speaker, the minister's answer is to take a 7-hour drive. That's not a very good answer. You know, the demand for radiation services in East Kootenays isn't just urgent, it's at the breaking point. Over 3,600 cancer treatments are needed. Treatments are needed in that area every single year. And that number is just climbing. Yet this government refuses to provide the care that the Kootenay families desperately need. Instead, cancer patients are forced to travel 6 hours over 2 mountain passes to Kelowna for radiation. An impossible, exhausting, and sometimes dangerous journey for those already battling for their lives. This is ridiculous. Does this health minister seriously expect families already facing the chaos and trauma of a cancer diagnosis to uproot their lives and endure treacherous travels just to receive the basic life care that they should have close to home? Will this government reconsider and ensure radiation treatment is available in the Kootenays before we lose more lives?
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you again to the member for the question. And I recognize, coming from a small rural community myself, that travel for cancer care is a burden for people. It is difficult to face, and it is one that is inequitably faced by people who live in smaller communities across this province, which is why we have worked to invest in assisting people in those travel costs, in overnight costs for certain kinds of cancer care, because we know that people need that help. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to continue building out our 10-year cancer plan, including the addition of 4 new cancer centres across this province that are helping people from rural communities across BC who face these challenges overcome them and get cancer care closer to home. Mr. Speaker, we will continue this work and we will not stop.
The bell ends the question period. Honourable members, I have the honour to table the Auditor General's report on BC Public Sector Boards.
So the thing about the like why I got upset when they say it's a disorder. So what happened post or pre-COVID was anybody that had an addiction problem would go to their doctor, and their doctor would send them to Alcoholics Anonymous. And in Alcoholics Anonymous, you learn that it's a disease. So post-World or pre-World War II, when Alcoholics Anonymous started, all the hospitals were full of it was all mental health, and people were getting paid lots of money to give all these people drugs to try to solve the problem. But once these 2 guys that started Alcoholics Anonymous found the answer is it's a disease, then the whole world shifted. Now, just past COVID, they are now calling it a disorder, and they're giving out meds. Period. I can get more into it if you want.
Right of the appointment process. Madam Clerk.
Orders of the day.
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I seek leave to move that, notwithstanding Standing Order 17B, that members be permitted to wear a pink shirt in the House on February 26th.
Oh, come on, man.
Tomorrow being Pink Shirt Day.
Is leave granted? Aye. Please proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Pink Shirt Day tomorrow is an important day of acknowledgement of the trauma that is associated with bullying in this province. It is an opportunity for members to show the public that we stand.
Okay, I got another one about bullying and anti-bullying campaign. So a friend of mine who works in the field that I work in has a son, and after his son graduated, he went back to his high school in Vernon on Pink Shirt Day because he was in university doing a class on, I can't remember what it was, but anyways, he did a paper on basically on bullying and anti-bullying, and the reality was he went to the school like after he had graduated, and his teachers were all bullying him because he wasn't wearing a pink shirt. So why are we bullying people if we don't wear? Why are we making people wear a pink shirt or saying it in a way that we should? Because it's just
united against bullying in all its forms, and the ability to wear a pink shirt recognizing that, Honourable Speaker, in this chamber would send a strong message to the public on our views that bullying is not acceptable in this chamber, in this province, or anywhere in our great nation of Canada.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Any further speaker on this issue?
I got something to say.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Government House Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I call continued second reading on Bill 3, Parks Act. Hey.
So it's all over now. So listen, my friends, I am going to do this as much as possible. I'm very interested in getting in and helping out however I can. And I am hopefully making some headway. I don't have a job that I have to go to 9 to 5, so I'm grateful that I can spend a lot of time on things that I need and that I desire to spend time on. And I am extremely passionate, probably a little bit more overboard than not, about all of the stuff that's happened in my country. My grandfather was, all my grandparents and stuff, they all fought for Canada under a different flag, you know. This was not the same Canada as it was 9 years ago, and I want it to come back, or at least some of it. So I'm going to do my best to get in there and make some place. I've got oodles of experience, and yeah, you're right, Shelley. I don't wear pink shirts. I've never worn pink. I'm just from Prince George. I'm sorry. I don't wear pink shirts. But if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask me, you know, go ahead and ask me some questions. And if not, I'm going to bounce out of here. And you can put them in the chat if you'd like.
Thank you. Recognizing the Minister of Transportation and Transit.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and it's my pleasure today to rise to speak to Bill 3, the Protected Areas of British Columbia Amendment Act 2025. This is a piece of legislation that, as members have spoken to, it comes on a fairly regular basis to make amendments to park boundaries in British Columbia, either by expanding them or perhaps in some cases some pieces are being removed for particular purposes, but it's done here in this House. And when you read this particular piece of legislation, it is really interesting in the kinds of parks that are being approached. And one of these parks is something that I find is often the name tells you a lot about the park. It tells you maybe where it is, the fact that there's a strong Indigenous connection to it by the name. But in one of these parks, Honourable Speaker, it speaks to two interesting plants. And they are Rhododendron macrophyllum and Rhododendron greenlandicum. And members may wonder what is so special about these two particular species of plants.
All right, my friends.
And there is something quite special about them. One, Rhododendron greenlandicum is actually quite common and is found in much of British Columbia, indeed much of Canada, in terms of the boreal forests of this country. It was a plant that was particularly important to Indigenous nations in our country, as well as early settlers, because its leaves provided and made a very health-giving tea in terms of providing vitamin C, and it is still used to this day. And if you were to find yourself without coffee or tea on a camping trip, you could easily use the leaves for that. It is, as I said, it is found throughout much of British Columbia and indeed Canada. The other one, Rhododendron macrophyllum, is the most interesting of the two in the fact that it is only found here in British Columbia. It is only found on southern Vancouver Island and in parts of the southwest coast of British Columbia,